All right. Hello.
I guess we're here.
Hi.
We made it.
We did.
We are on your screen. We are the Transpositions back from a holiday off. So I hope you guys had a good holiday and spent it with some friends and family and stuff.
Or at least
Took your
got some
mind
good
off
turkey.
Yeah.
Look at the trees. Robert Madewell. Purple just joined the stream. Hey everybody. How's it going? I hope you're here for the potty patrol. We've got our super duper detective glasses all set to go.
We are going to be targeting the potty patrol.
Yeah, we'll be sneaking under the door, getting the mirror out, the whole program. Yeah, we're ready.
Yeah. You got to take blood samples.
Hey, what you got cooking?
Fingerprints. So Ember, you said something about your turkey. It was delicious, huh?
Oh, absolutely. I cook my turkey weird. I go directly from the freezer to the oven, and people think I'm crazy, but it creates the juiciest turkey ever. I mean, there's also a copious amount of butter involved, but I mean, it works.
Yeah, most things that taste good and savory are consistent in butter in some capacity.
The trick is to make sure that there's way for air to flow through the center of the bird, but it's covered over so it doesn't dehydrate. And you start off with a very high temperature, like 475 or something, for like 15 minutes just to trigger a thermal pulse, and then you drop it down to a lower temperature, say 250 for 3 hours, depending on the weight of the bird. At least that's what I do.
There we go. I should be plenty loud now. Sorry, I was quiet.
There we go. There we have it. Now we're talking.
You have increased in voluminousness.
Yes.
So on the bathroom thing, there's so much to talk about, of course, and some of it we'll get to later, some of it we'll get to in a moment, but it sticks in my mind because I'm sure we all remember when this first started in 2015, when North Carolina proposed their first bathroom ban. I was still writing every so often for I can't even remember, so many fucking publications, Yahoo News among others, and I wrote an article that was almost like an Onion piece about the potty police, and then I see it on today's thumbnail, potty police. It just because it was so absurd. And yet here we are being even more absurd, because how do you enforce these? You have to have potty police, and it's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, and who's going to sign up to be the potty police? I bet there'll be a line to sign up to examine young ladies before they go to the bathroom.
They're going to institute a draft. It'll be the potty police draft. Everybody has to sign up. Everybody in America will be subject to having both being the potty police and being policed by the potty police.
I hope they'll at least let us queer people help design their uniforms. That's what I'm hoping for.
Assless chaps.
Yes. If you're gonna be a potty police, you're gonna look the part.
Yeah. That's gonna be the thing right there.
Isn't it interesting that we have to say assless chaps? Because chaps by definition are assless, but you have to say assless anyway.
It just means that you're not wearing anything under the chaps, really. I'm wearing chaps as pants, as assless chaps, basically.
All right, so we've got Kentucky Atheist has joined us, and Arctic Fox is here. Hey everybody, thanks so much for coming tonight. We're sorry we let you down on Thanksgiving, but you know what? We were tired.
I mean, everybody was probably turkeyed out, and I know we were newsed out after the nonsense following the election, and there's just so freaking much. But I do appreciate everybody for being here. I know there's a lot going on tonight. For some reason, Thursdays have suddenly become a popular day to broadcast. Several of our friends are doing shows. One of our friends, shout out to Helen Green, is launching a new show, which was supposed to be an hour ago, so she wouldn't cut into. But
that's
that's it. That's it. Hell's bells. You're done. You're done.
That's right. You're canceled, Helen.
Oh, you get the horns, Helen.
But yeah, and for those of you watching later, thank you for joining us even after the fact. And feel free to hit the bells and hit the buttons to make sure you catch us live next time. We would love to see you in the live chat.
So do we have elephants in the room?
Well, who's a big elephant in the room for the Republicans right now is freaking Sarah McBride, but she was not the only one, because freaking where Sarah McBride was like, okay, whatever, do your stupidness. We had Zoe, who is also fighting this battle, and she's in Montana, right? Yeah. Republicans try and fail to ban trans politician Zoe Zephyr from the women's bathroom. What do you think of that? As an effort by Montana Republicans to ban trans politician Zoe Zephyr from the women's restroom has failed. Well,
you might say it got flushed.
That's right.
Yeah. The bathroom stuff is nonsense. It's a non-starter, really. It's a Feelies campaign that has no practical application.
It's all a Feelies campaign, and the problem. This is my take, okay? This is stepping on the whole election thing.
Mm-hmm.
People tend to vote for people who show some spine, and what did not happen was we didn't have a moment like FDR's 1936 Madison Garden speech. We didn't have we're too polite to actually go after the people that are literally going after people that are important to our core, people that are important to our base, Muslims, trans people, Black people. We didn't go, it's like those people are being attacked. And we didn't have our party stand up for us, and people just sit there. These guys will just lay back and they won't do anything. That's the most indicative of a lack of response that you can possibly give. Not responding. And for the people, there's so many people out there. The vibe, the zeitgeist in the mainstream media is basically, these side issues cost us the election. Not because we made them issues, not because any of us made them issues, because the Republicans made them issues. And the people who had the voice and had the opportunity to push back on those issues and actually stand up for people did not do so. Mm-hmm. I think that's more apropos than all of this blaming the victim. Like,
right.
Geez, the Republicans spent, hundreds of millions of dollars going after trans people.
But it's the trans people's fault.
In media buys. So therefore we get people on the interweb saying, well, it's all the woke people. All the woke people cost us the election. No, that's bullshit. You people standing there calling yourself proud centrists, you cost us the election because you won't stand for anything.
You almost cost us the last election, and you did cost us the 2016 election too. Every time it's back to you folks. So stop trying to pass the buck to trans people who are 0.57% of the population or something like that. We cannot influence an election. We don't have that power. Only one candidate campaigned on trans issues, and that was Donald Trump. Remember that. And it was against them. Nobody else was even talking about it. And on the Democrat side, the Republicans wouldn't shut up about it. So remember that next time. It was because they drew their line in the sand. You did not. You said, okay, that's a good place. That's a good place to stand. And there's people that are back in that position now. Oh, why I left the left type people. You got Anna Kasparian talking about birthing people again on Piers Morgan this week, and Cenk Uygur, the TYT people have totally abandoned trans folks. There's multiple politicians that have come out and said we should abandon trans folks over this election. We are not
We have trans folks coming out saying that they got to abandon trans folks after the election because we got it's like Brianna Wu all throughout the whole thing. Oh well, you ought to shut up, because or the I'm pretty and you're ugly, so therefore you should shut up. It's just really, come on, people. This is not how you forge a coalition.
No,
grading,
it
putting people on a scale and grading them as to who gets to say something and who has to shut up.
Oh, and Purple, I see you, I hear you. Your first holiday without Sloth Girl's got to be rough.
Yeah. I just saw that comment too. That's tough.
Oh, sweetie, and we'll have the Christmas marathon this year. The TransPositions will probably participate in it this year.
Of course we will.
I believe as a team. So, what is the 25th is a Wednesday, so we may take the last shift or something on the cycle. We may wrap things up. I don't know yet. I have to talk to Purple. But yeah, if you have a channel, any kind of channel, really, it doesn't matter what kind of content you're making, as long as you can just be a decent chum and hang out for an hour or more on Christmas Day, with people who may not have anywhere to be on Christmas. Sign up, because we always need more people. It always seems like we're doubling people up or moving folks around last minute to try to fill in space.
This is like this will be the 7th year that Perps has done this.
I think so, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is just awesome. It's just so awesome.
Perps is good people.
Yeah.
She always has other people's best interests in mind. I've spent my share of holidays with that live stream. I've been alone on Christmas, and that was who I spent it with. I have.
Me too.
Yeah, same. Last year, I didn't just host a segment or two, however many it was. I spent most of both days, the 48 hours in the life, because my kids are off with their other parent and grandma and other relatives.
Mm-hmm.
Since I'm not a Christian, those aren't actually important days for me. So everybody else gets the kids. So I'm by myself.
Yeah. And I mean, that makes sense as I think everybody, all three of us are non-believers or some flavor of atheists. So letting, like, I have kids too we're going to spend the holidays with their other parents, because they have that actual belief and it's important to them. So I respect other people's beliefs. I just wish other people could respect me.
Yeah.
Isn't that the point? It's like it's this whole social thing. It's like every once in a while you can shut up and listen to what the other person, to try to walk a mile in their moccasins, that kind of thing. Maybe just, I know it'll blow your mind, but give it a whirl.
That's crazy.
This will be the 8th year that Purple has done this. She said she started it in 2017. Which is so cool.
All right. Next on the list, I had this from Aaron Reed, which is funny because when you talk about Zoe Zephyr, you got to bring up Aaron Reed too, because they're a power couple. We had. I hate how these show up on my screen, but here, let me screen share it anyway. The French new French guidelines recommend trans youth care denounce wait and see approach. And that's in France. In a groundbreaking development for the care of transgender youth in France, the French Society of Pediatric Endocrinology and Diabetology has released what is being called the first French national medical consensus on trans youth care. The documents released, and this may be the most important ruling, like global ruling for trans people in the last 10 years.
It's huge.
Because this sets a global precedent, right? To have this approach to from the local national health organizations to take a stand, and hopefully it
Bree,
inspires.
I don't know if it's just me, but the print is almost illegible on screen.
Yeah, it really is. That's why I'm saying I hate how these how these Substack blogs show up on here. I gotta like highlight it in order for it to be able to be seen.
Yeah, it's like
there you go.
dark mode or something. But yeah, this is similar to how our pediatric society, endocrine society, all the various collectives of physicians, every single one affirms the importance of trans healthcare, particularly for trans youth.
Mm-hmm.
This is the French equivalent of the Pediatric Endocrine Society. And I mean, it's a first in Europe for sure. And it continues to further that global consensus where every single medical organization that has weighed in on the topic is on the pro-trans side. Because, I mean, it's a long rant.
Also,
let's say it's obvious.
I'd say so.
It also puts the lie to the very, very frequently heard over the course of the past 6 months or so claim that Europe has shut down the trans entirely.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been a drumbeat. It's like so many lies, so many fucking lies. And where are the people? It's like we can sit here. We come on here every week, with a few exceptions. We come on here every week and say this, but we're the voices that are supposed to be still and are actively being pursued to keep still. We really, 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 really need the leaders of those people who claim to be leaders of our party, who claim to have our backs. We really need you to do something.
Yeah. I like how they bring up the cast review in here, though.
Yeah.
It says the document release comes as a variety of other countries consider the politically influenced guidelines from the cast review in the United Kingdom, which has since been heavily criticized, and its recommendations rejected by multiple medical societies in other countries. So the cast review ain't it, people. I know that they thought it was their big win, and I imagine we're going to be looking forward to something like that in the U.S. very soon. Maybe something coming out from Heritage Foundation funded investigation into gender affirming care, something along those lines, where they'll cultivate and cherry pick their data and their physicians that they platform, and we'll see something very similar to the cast review coming out as part of the Trump administration's protocol for what is obviously not Project 2025. No, they didn't. Project 2025 was nothing. They didn't plan on doing that at all. It was just a big
it's
hoax.
A fluke. It's a fluke.
Yeah. It just so happens that he's appointing all the Project 2025 people to his cabinet and administration again. Who would have saw that coming?
Such a weird coincidence.
Tsumami joins the live chat. Yay. Hi, Tsumami.
Hey, Tsumami.
Oh, yeah. And I see Chris out there also.
Hey, good evening, Chris. Chris is in my time zone, I think.
So we've already seen this. You know, the prelude to the CAS report was the Florida State Board of Medical Examiners. The same people were on that. That report came out first. Guess what? That report's going to be shuffled right up to the halls of Congress. Although it's rather kind of nice to know that little Johnny Christ of Northwest Louisiana there, what's his name? Mike, I don't know what. Johnson.
Oh, Mike Johnson?
Mike Johnson. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Mini Christ of Northwest Louisiana. He's only going to have a couple of vote margin, at least until the special elections happen. So that's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Small bright spots on the political landscape.
Well,
and as we saw in Montana, some Republicans are not fans of how extreme things have gotten. And even though they're Republicans, they're not siding with the nonsense. And it's nice to see more rank breaking.
Well, whoever's paying Nancy Mace to make her flip her switch should try to maybe pay those guys too, because she went from being like, "Hey, this gender stuff is stupid and it's a bad platform," to being like, "That's what we went on. Get Sarah McBride out of my bathroom."
She saw Lauren Boebert and she was like, "I want to be like that, but worse."
Yeah, how could I turn that up to 11?
How are we feeling about Sarah these days? How do you all feel about it?
Well, she hasn't really got the chance to do anything. Well, she's not even in office yet. I mean, I don't know what to say right now as a powerless person saying, you know what, I'm not going to start my new job by fighting with the manager or whatever, I guess, which is what Mike Johnson would be. So I'm not even going to deal with this. It's fine.
I mean, I can appreciate her perspective. She's got shit to do, and she wants to do that moral high ground thing. Like, we have bigger issues. They're full of bullshit. We're full of solutions, that sort of deal. But on the flip side, I feel like it's a disappointment to the legacy of Dr. King, because he made kind of a big deal out of standing up to injustice at every turn.
Well, in this case, it would be sitting down for injustice.
Well, yes.
From that. And, you know, by the way, you don't have to lift a seat. It's cool.
That's right.
But anyway, I don't know. My take on it is sort of like, what I would have preferred she do is like, hey, when I get up there, hit the cloakroom, take off my stuff, leave it in the rack there. I'm going to go in there, and if I have a wee bit too much coffee in the cloakroom and have to use the head, send the sergeant at arms. Go ahead, do it. Go ahead. Just watch me. And I think that would have been good enough. You don't have to make a big deal out of it. It's like, hey, go ahead, just watch me.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how Zoe handled it. That's what I like. Yeah. She's like, I'm still going to use the bathroom. You're not going to stop me. And it's like, you're not going to stop her. I mean, you can. I think the plan is to see if they can throw us in jail for it, literally. But
I see, the thing that I don't understand is this instinctive reaction on the part of very successful politicians. Now, don't get me wrong, Sarah's done wonderful things. What with the Human Rights Commission, right?
Human Rights Campaign,
whatever, or Human Rights Campaign, and she's done wonderful things. Very successful in her political, unlike other people that I could mention, but I won't. She's very successful, but it's you can be that successful, so is ever, and make the statement and not be antagonistic. It's not antagonistic to defend yourself from someone who's being incredibly antagonistic to your very existence. You can, to me, in all of my dealings, if somebody gets up in my grill about it, I just breathe in and breathe out and say, yeah, okay. I'm still here. That puts them in the unique position of having to say, yeah, and I wish you weren't. As a matter of fact, I'm going to make sure you can't be. That's a bad look to most people. It's not a political winner.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and that brings to mind another thing that's happening as will be discussed later in the show, I'm sure, possibly by many of us in our individual bits. There are some people present at the ongoing Supreme Court stuff, including Lord Poo-Poo Head with an okay beard, Matt Walsh, who broke out the eradicate word again.
Oh,
and
nice.
Yeah, that's
Eradicate?
Not just a turn of phrase. That is a threat.
Eradicate. Yeah. What do they think that means?
Well, in fairness,
it's
I
like
don't think
BO.
Matt
You
knows
got to
what
get rid of
that
BO.
means.
Well, they want trans people, as they say, back to the asylums. Gay people back in the closet, trans people back to the asylums is the Benny Johnson message that we got after the election. Well, women back to the kitchen in general, so it doesn't really matter.
Does being barefoot and pregnant come into the whole matrix as well?
I've been trying to get pregnant and it's just not working. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Yeah.
Well, I mean, keep trying. I'm sure you'll figure it out.
We'll get there eventually.
That's right.
I do have something good though to wrap this segment up, the open panel segment up with, though, if you all are down for it.
Sure. I'm down for it. Go.
Yay! The People's Princess, Alex Kasani, becomes the first transgender woman to win Model of the Year. Social media star.
So many people out. Oh my God.
Yeah, right. Deal with it. We are not going back in the closet, baby. We're not. People love us. Even though Americans are overwhelmingly bigoted against us on a global scene, we are loved people. We are not like seen as degenerates or whatever Americans think we are. Social media star Alex Kasani is breaking down barriers one catwalk at a time. On December 2nd, the 21-year-old influencer became the first transgender woman to win Model of the Year at the 2024 British Fashion Awards in London. Her acceptance speech highlighted her hope for the future of the industry and how her accomplishment was a big step in the right direction. We got some excerpts down here too. Here we go. I am the first trans woman to win this award, she said, but I can't accept this award without thanking those who came before me, specifically the Black trans women who really fought for the space I'm in today. Dominique Jackson, Connie Fleming, Erin Rose Phillips, and countless more who fought for the space that allows me to flourish today. Now more than ever, it's an important conversation that should be had about how to truly support and uplift one another within this industry, especially those who have been made to feel insignificant. And there's our queen right there, with her
actually angel.
Yeah,
that's from the Victoria's Secret show that we reported on a few weeks ago.
Right. Yeah, isn't it funny how we've been reporting on these stories all the time? It's like all right.
If you want to stay on top of the news, make sure you're subscribed, folks, because we tend to cover this shit months before most other outlets. Although, in fairness, Aaron Reed beats us about half the time.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a race though. We're working together on this, and we need everybody pitching.
And that's why I don't feel bad about sharing Aaron's article because she or sharing the topics that Aaron brings to light. Because same with Ari or the writers over at Pink News or anybody like that. I fish all over the place to keep on top of this stuff, and I know Ember does too. And
I'm gonna in my little segment. I'm gonna feature a guy named Chris Geidner, Law Dork goes by, and he's a really, really great guy. He does a wonderful summary of all of the trans people, both in the legal profession and in the press, who are at the Supreme Court. It's just so great. It's wonderful, wonderful stuff.
So, Ember, what do we got coming up on your segment today? I know you sent something over. I didn't get a chance to review the whole thing, but you want to give us a brief breakdown of the stuff you're going to be covering?
It's kind of it's very off the cuff because, as many of you know, I have very, very little time anymore. I joined the show during the opening musical sequence because I'm like cutting everything razor close lately. So it's very off the cuff. But there's some stuff related to Miss Nancy Mace. There's a little bit of time travel, and there's a resource that I just discovered for trans people to help build community. So there is some good news in there.
Good. Well, I think at this point, there's going to Good news is going to be few and far. It's going to be slim pickings. But I think that we can. I think that maybe we can attempt, at the very least, to reflect on the bad news and find ways to, draw some positive ways of going forward in the whole thing. So,
yeah. I will say that that just in general, the LGBTQ's influence, at least on culture, is going strong. Things like that are inherently queer, like Deadpool and Wolverine, which is the queerest superhero. Agatha All Along, it's like
Wicked and Deadpool 2 are the top 2 box offices this year, and both of them have a hetero romantic flavor to them.
Yeah.
Or homo-romantic. I know how to speak English.
Hey, I got a question. Are the 3 of us all going to be on Godless Granny's channel on Saturday?
Yes. I mean, assuming I don't
please. Die. Yeah, well, that goes without saying.
Does she know that we are the Transpositions? Does Kelly know that?
Okay. Yes, of course she does. Kidding me?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So Godless Granny Kelly is doing her show on Saturday. I hope maybe Pragmatic can find a link to that on what can cis people do. What can the rest of us do? The people that are most impacted because I think it's finally getting people's attention. These people aren't kidding. They're not joking. It's like it's really fucking sad that it's taken, at least me personally, like from 2018 until now, just like, hey, my hair's on fire. Anybody got a fire extinguisher? No, but we got your back. Okay.
I'll tell you if I see one. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's great that people are starting to notice, and it is going to be important, I think, to not just attempt to convey our experiences that are outside of the mainstream, but to convey our experiences within the mainstream that have led us to be a part of society, very productive part of society. We really need people to look at us and support us and not look away when we're attacked.
You reminded me of something I wanted to say real quick too tonight before I forget. It's kind of related to that. It is, okay, if you would not, think of a scenario, you're like in some social media art engagement and somebody starts spouting racist stuff against black people. Would you tag a black person in the conversation that you're friends with and say, hey, take over this argument because they're black? If not, then why would you do that to a trans person? I'm not trying to be mean, but like especially since the election, it's gone up exponentially where people will say, hey, Bree, I'm in this argument with this person and just tag me in it. And the problem with it is even if I decide I don't want to engage with it or I want to ignore it, guess what? I get to read in my feed from then on forward. Right. I get to read all their transphobic nonsense. So please don't tag me and stuff like that. I'm not speaking for everybody. Get a person's consent before you start doing that, because Ember might want to say, "Hey, if someone starts making this type of argument, let me know, and I'll come in there and drop some sources or something."
Yeah, it's much better. I've had a few people reach out to me on Discord and be like, "Hey, I'm in a discussion with such and such," and they bring up this point. They'll ask, do you want to come and curb stomp them? Or perhaps they'll ask, what is a good argument to use against them? Or do you have any studies or what? But fucking ask. Don't just like drag people over, Well,
what I've been saying is, instead of tagging any of us, tell them to call Takis at 3:00 Eastern time on Thursdays if they really think that if that person has a good argument, have them call in. because at least then a queer person gets paid for it to engage
Hell
with
yeah.
them.
Yeah, I mean, there's that sort of thing. I mean, maybe some fine day we'll fire up call-in studio and take calls here, but I think I don't really want to be that show. I don't want to do a call-in show to talk to transphobes. I'd rather be a call-in show to talk to people who just want to talk to us. You know,
Mhm.
if we're gonna do a call-in show, I'd like people to call in and say how hopefully we're doing good stuff, or maybe or tell us how we're fucking up.
Yeah,
One way or
I'm
another.
happy to answer good faith questions when I have time, but
Yeah,
I don't have time for the bad faith debate bro assholes.
What
They're
is
not
time?
interested in learning. They're not interested in improving. They're not interested in not being horrible human beings. So fuck them. And
Well,
I don't
you know,
blame anybody else for not having time for them either.
I've been told that God exists outside of time, so what the fuck use is time?
Right?
Or God, for that matter.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, if God exists outside of space and time, well, never mind. I'm going to shut up because I'll
Never
get
mind.
into
We're not the
philosophical
atheists.
stuff.
You know? Yeah, right.
I will get
we
down
do-
into
and
some.
We do, and we do have a Christian in our midst, though she's not here this evening. But
Yeah, so we will be short sports tonight, but TransPositions sports should be returning for us on the 12th. So, gonna have all the regular excitement and enthusiasm that Carly and Kirby bring to the show when they get the time to make it happen. Holidays though, people got stuff going on, so hopefully we'll not have to miss any more shows this month.
We probably are we gonna do
Boxing Day?
We'll do the 26th. Boxing Day? Yeah, well let's do Boxing Day. Hey,
Yeah.
There's the Sydney Hobart race. Maybe I can get some clips of the Sydney Hobart race, the start of the Sydney Hobart race. That'd be fun.
Neat, yeah. The starting line or whatever. I don't know what they
Yeah.
call it in sailing. When they
It's called the starting line.
Ooh, that's fancy.
They have
I wonder who
fancy
thought of
names
that.
for everything. The front of the ship is the bow. The toilet is the head. The floor is the deck. But the starting line is just the starting line. That's kind of disappointing, honestly.
Oh, come on. Really? Oh my goodness. All right. See that? That's the starting line.
That's the starting line. Time to start.
There we go. Yeah. With about 15 seconds left. Oops, wait a second. You're close to the line. Just like it's called the starting line.
All right. Well, so this is generally the part of the show where we have to kick Ember off for being such a sleepy girl.
Yes, naughty Ember.
It's past your bedtime, young woman.
It really is, actually. I needed to be in bed 43 minutes ago at the latest, but I'm bad at my jobs. Although I did get my nails done.
Ooh, pretty.
Good for you.
Hell yeah.
Right,
I'm Christmassy now.
But don't fret if you want more Ember tonight, because we got more Ember coming right now.
Now, was the alternate color on our favorite finger here a deliberate choice, or was that?
I wanted them in.
It's a nice day for a white wedding, Ember.
It just the white is the least fun of the color. I was just gonna do like a half and half thing, but I'm like, screw. We'll just. I mean, I could do like an Italian flag, or I could make them orange and make it an Irish flag. That'd be fun. Not for Christmas though. Another time. St. Patrick's Day.
Mine are just gothy.
I don't actually have a black. I need to get a black.
Here, reach out and grab it.
Reach through the screen.
Yes.
Sorcery. It'd be really cool if I happen to have one like on top of my camera and I could just bloop.
Yeah.
People would be like, they're fucking witches.
Witches. Yeah.
Make Forrest
Oh.
We
Gump
got Ways to Be
overreact.
Human in the chat now. We got Ways to Be Human. And Dr. Ben is in the chat. Holy shit. What's going on?
That's right.
Dr. Ben's exhausted, it says.
Yeah. Dr.
I
Ben was on
relate.
Cactus earlier.
Well, you know, Dr. Ben, we're here to put you to sleep.
Well, we're doing a shitty job, aren't we? We keep getting
I
loud
don't
and
know.
having outbursts, and we're rowdy.
We're keeping Ember
Rowdy
up
bunch.
too.
It's true.
I'm so sorry, Ember. You want me to sing you lullaby?
I would love a lullaby. You know I love your music. Get some
Yeah.
harmonica vibes going on.
Yeah, I'll get my mandolin out. I don't know if harmonica is a good lullaby instrument. I guess you can play it soft. Some instruments you can't play soft. Like you don't want to play a lullaby on a trumpet, you know?
It could be fun though.
Yeah. You wake someone up with a trumpet, you know, put someone to sleep. A harp. I wish I had a harp. I'd love a harp.
Hush, little baby, don't you cry.
I got plenty of trumpet wake ups, and you know, in the Navy they don't even use an actual trumpet anymore. Somebody gets on the PA and says "Reveille, reveille." All hands.
Reveille,
eat.
reveille.
Mhm.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
well,
what bullshit is this? Budget cuts? What the fuck? Ugh.
you see,
Maybe
back
that
in
brass-
the day, Ember, back in the day, they didn't have a PA and they didn't have telegraph, so they had signal flags and the damn fuel.
It's so fucking stupid, and also they're so tradition bound about everything else. Even in training, the head of the division carries an actual fucking sword. Why do you need a sword when you're in training? Why do you need a sword in the Navy? Because it's tradition. But no, we don't play an instrument. We just reveille. Get the fuck out of here with it now.
You needed the
That does
brass
seem
for
lame.
shell casing.
At least a recording of reveille would be
Right, like church bells
more
that don't have bells
acceptable. Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
Ugh. I don't. That's
But
the
first, I'll
least
get
of the
that
things I
other
get pissed
pop, the
off
guy
about
who
the
wakes the bugler up. Quoting
I
Irving
know.
Berlin.
Who does that? Who does that? I'm convinced that petty officers just don't sleep because those fuckers are in the barracks all the time.
Are you going to get into a big fight with Dr. Ben on account of your naval heritage?
Oh,
Probably not.
Oh, good.
Dr. Ben would definitely beat me up, partly because testosterone, but also because as a doctor, he knows like all the anatomical points to go for, and I would just
Yeah.
die. He'd come at me with a scalpel, you know.
he's also, I believe, he's a black belt. I believe.
In Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's right.
He's got whatever his awards are. They're substantial.
Yeah, the whole martial arts thing. I interviewed Dr. Ben on Transparency Talk
There you did.
a couple episodes back. And yeah.
Mhm.
So if you want to learn more about Dr. Ben, that's one way you can do it. Haha. Me throwing random plugs out. I mean, I plug everybody else's channel every time.
Let's plug everybody. Let's plug everybody in the chat. Everybody in the chat that's got a channel. Every single one of you deserves more followers. So
Mhm.
look at each
We need
other. You know, do your
We
thing.
do all to
Let's get it
network. To network together.
Yeah.
Together, we're a lot stronger than we are just by ourselves, right? Just by ourselves, but we network together a lot stronger.
Mhm.
So, support
to
your
start
community.
thinking phalanxes.
Mhm. We need to all start crafting our riot gear.
Except for Purple, who has the worst puns, which I watched the video with Ben, but I thought it had been doctored.
Oh, we don't have a drum set. We have a piano, though.
I know.
No,
I
but we
gotta
have
set up
one
my
of those
sound effects
things.
again.
we've got one of those things. We got a
There you go. A little delayed, but better late than never.
Anyway, Ember, go ahead and get your beauty rest, etc.
Yeah. We're gonna be watching. We're gonna watch some Ember right now. Actually, it's gonna be like this. There's an Ember on the screen, and your Ember, so we can't have two Embers at the same time. So get out of here.
Good night, folks.
All right.
As a matter of fact,
good night,
this
Ember.
one's gonna be the biggest forever. We'll be back in just a little bit, and then Steph's got some stuff to cover as well. So this is a 20-minute segment. Yeah.
You all right, man? I'm all right. You all right? You all right? I'm all right. You all right? You all right?
Are you all right? It's been a bit of a rough time since the election. I know. And things are going to continue to be rough in a lot of ways. But fret not. We still have news to cover. Now, there's been a lot going on, and we got to go a little bit off the cuff this time due to time constraints. But the biggest and most obvious thing that's been happening since the election is, quite obviously, Nancy Mace. Now, you're all no doubt aware Nancy Mace has been causing trouble for the one incoming congresswoman who happens to be trans by making a big stink and causing a huge tizzy over a trans bathroom ban in the U.S. Capitol. And, well, this post in particular is kind of special because, as you can see, it's posted by Chaya Rychek's outfit, Libs of TikTok, the stochastic terrorist organization, on Elon's Twitter. And one of Chaya's fanatic fans responded, "Which one is the real woman? They both look like men." And therein is the key. Because as we all have been saying all this time, the reason these sorts of bans are harmful to all women is because no woman is womanly enough. Anybody who doesn't like you will challenge you and make life difficult for you. It's, well, you know, AOC put it better than I can. Watch this.
What Nancy Mace and what Speaker Johnson are doing are endangering all women and girls. Because if you ask them, what is your plan on how to enforce this? They won't come up with an answer. And what it inevitably results in are women and girls who are primed for assault because people are going to want to check their private parts in suspecting who is trans and who is cis and who's doing what. And so the idea that Nancy Mace wants little girls and women to drop trow in front of who? An investigator? Who would that be? In order, because she wants to suspect and point fingers at who she thinks is trans, is disgusting. It is disgusting. And frankly, all it does is allow these Republicans to go around and bully any woman who isn't wearing a skirt because they think she might not look woman enough. People have a right to express themselves, to dress how they want, and to be who they are. And if a woman doesn't look woman enough to a Republican, they want to be able to inspect her genitals to use a bathroom. It's disgusting. And everybody, no matter how you feel on this issue, should reject it completely. What are they doing? They're doing this so that Nancy Mace can make a buck and send a text and fundraise off an email. They're not doing this to protect people. They're endangering women. They're endangering girls of all kinds. And everybody should reject it. It's gross. Thank you.
Thank you.
It is gross, and AOC's correct. Nancy Mace has been fundraising off of this. Also, selling merch. Yay, capitalism. However, a lot of people are not on Nancy's side in this. And perhaps the best example is another viral clip from the last couple of weeks where an advocate confronted Nancy, which she then lied about later, but that's not important. But even though the crowd didn't stand up for the advocate, they responded appropriately to how Nancy spoke about it. Watch this.
But we have a lot of responsibilities too. Ro and I.
I'm sorry. We're living with that in real time right now. This is ridiculous. It is the day after Trans Day of Visibility. We have had dozens of trans people die this year because of the hate and lies that you are spreading. And if we want an internet, are we building an internet with free speech for everyone or just the privileged few? Are you going to stand up for the lives of trans people, black and brown people? Are we fighting for justice or are we fighting for big tech?
We respect freedom of
God
speech.
loves him, I love
That's
him,
right.
but his penis isn't going to be in my bathroom. So, at any rate, but we have a responsibility.
Yeah, Nancy, like most transphobes, particularly the grifter flavor of them, is obsessed with people's genitals. She has no idea if Evan Greer has had surgery, and it doesn't matter if she has, because it's none of Nancy's business. It's not anybody else's business what's in Nancy's pants. In fact, this is such a non-issue, or it should be, that even former President Trump agrees with us and not Nancy, or at least past President Trump. Watch this.
North Carolina, what they're going through with all of the business that's leaving and all of the strife, and that's on both sides. You leave it the way it is. There have been very few complaints the way it is. People go, they use the bathroom that they feel is appropriate. There has been so little trouble. And the problem with what happened in North Carolina is the strife and the economic punishment that they're taking. So I would say that's probably
transgender people working in your organization?
I don't know.
No?
I really don't know. I probably do. I really don't know.
So if Caitlyn Jenner were to walk into Trump Tower and want to use the bathroom, you would be fine with her using any bathroom she chooses?
That is correct.
As much as it pains me to say it, past Trump is right. And that, of course, was in response back in 2016 to North Carolina's trans bathroom bill, which started off this entire trend. That's right. While trans people have always existed, see our Trans People in History series here on TransPositions for more on that. But this anti-trans politicization of using laws to try to oppress us in particular for political reasons, that's only been since 2016. That is what's new. And original flavor Trump, as deplorable as that man was, wasn't as deplorable as the mainline Republican just 8 years later. That's kind of scary, TBH. But if it's so non-controversial that even past Trump was against it, what are we doing, America? Now, the good news is there have been steps taken. As the wonderful journalist Aaron Reed reports, a group of trans people led by Chelsea Manning, the famous whistleblower, who is also a trans person, held a sit-in in the bathroom across from Speaker Johnson's office. Now, this is fantastic. This is exactly what I've been saying needs to happen, because Martin Luther King showed us the way. When you are not allowed to sit at the lunch counter, you occupy the entire lunch counter. And you sit there until they realize they cannot erase you. If you're not allowed in the bathroom, you occupied the damn bathroom. And that's what happened. Now, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your perspective, they were told they would be arrested for sexual misconduct. They have been arrested. And pluses and minuses there, because they're going to look awful silly if that comes to trial. Because what exactly is sexual misconduct in legal terms? Well, there isn't really a clear definition from U.S. legal. Sexual misconduct in the law, it encompasses a range of behavior used to obtain sexual gratification at another against another's will or at their expense. It can include sexual harassment, sexual assault, any conduct of a sexual nature without consent or has the effect of threatening or intimidating a person against whom such conduct is directed. In what way is a person being in a bathroom an act of sexual assault against another person, or even an act of threatening? Who is being threatened? Which specific person has been harmed by anyone in that group sitting in the bathroom holding a sign? Or Sarah McBride using the bathroom? Does her washing her hands violate someone's consent? Is the sink part of someone's body? It doesn't make any sense. Now, that is a broad term, of course. Every state, every region is going to have its own specific laws detailing what exactly it is that we're talking about. So I looked up the District of Columbia's legal code to see what constitutes sexual misconduct. And shock and surprise, sexual misconduct is not a legal term in the District of Columbia. The closest we've got, and what the people making threats of arrest may have been talking about, is a sexual contact offense, which means touching with any clothed or unclothed body part, any object, either directly through clothing of the genitalia, various assorted body parts, with an intent to abuse, humiliate, harass, degrade, or arouse or gratify the sexual desire of any person. In other words, a person has to be specifically touched. And that isn't even sexual misconduct. That's just the closest we can come in what is actually in DC law. So they've been arrested on a charge that doesn't exist, and the closest thing that doesn't apply. Super job, I suppose. But they are making waves. They're bringing attention to the nonsense, and they're showing that we're not going to stand up for this. We will keep an eye on the story as it develops. You know there'll be more. Speaking of developing stories, as we have been talking about since early in this show's history, way back at the beginning of last year, Tennessee has another case coming to Washington, D.C. Tennessee, of course, has banned trans youth health care against literally everyone's recommendation. Parents are against it. State legislators are against it. Physicians are against it. Nobody likes this. But the state Republicans have forced it through anyway. It's been challenged in court, and now it's made its way all the way up to the Supreme Court. And even the fact the case is being heard represents another milestone for trans people. Watch this.
Next week, Chase Strangio will make history as the first openly transgender lawyer to make oral arguments before the Supreme Court as the justices consider Tennessee's ban on gender-affirming hormone therapies for transgender minors. The case argues the ban is a form of sex discrimination.
And that's an excellent case, because even though the Supreme Court currently has a conservative majority, this is the same Supreme Court who ruled in similar cases that discrimination against people based on gender identity constitutes discrimination based on sex. Because just like with the gay marriage issue, you cannot discriminate against somebody's gender identity without also factoring in their assigned sex, because otherwise there's no possibility for deviation from the expected norm. And this case is making ground. Erin Reed, whom we mentioned earlier, Erin in the Morning on Substack, you should definitely follow, subscribe, support her work, because she does damn good work. She is in the courtroom for these arguments, and she's been reporting on the progress. And so far, Chase has brought up the states' rights, the parents' rights aspect of this, which appeals to conservatives, saying that government should not be coming between parents and doctors in deciding what is right for children. And this is one area where the Republican forcefulness towards parents' rights actually may prove to be the the good thing, the thing that tips the balance towards justice in this case. And additionally, Chase, not only making history as the first trans person presenting arguments, he's kind of kicking ass. Aaron has reported that he has been presenting information that the justices did not know. Amy Coney Barrett, for example, did not know that the old cross-dressing laws were previously used to harass trans people, to jail us for no reason, to make life difficult for us. She, as a Supreme Court justice, did not know that, nor did the attorney for the other side, speaking on behalf of the Tennessee government, pushing this law on people who do not want it. He was not aware of this. His only defense was to invoke other laws that, as Justice Jackson pointed out, are not relevant to the case being discussed. So it's kind of hilarious, but also really sad that our country has come to this point where ignorant people are judging cases presented by incompetence, and only a trans person stands between us and total catastrophic stupidity completely taking over, at least in Tennessee. Although, because this is the Supreme Court, it is definitely going to set precedent in some way, shape, or form. We can hope justice prevails. Perhaps it will. It's not a foregone conclusion, despite the fact that the court is stacked so heavily conservative. Decisions are expected sometime this summer, but as with everything else, we will keep an eye on it for you. Now, I don't want to leave you with just bad news. So I want to show you something cool that I discovered last week completely by accident. Just cruising YouTube videos, I came across a channel called Azeel, who interviews people in VR chat, which that's a whole thing in and of itself. You don't necessarily need a VR headset to participate in VR chat, though, like all things VR, it's better if you do. There is a desktop version. There may even be a phone version. I'm not entirely sure because I'd never heard of it before. But in VR chat, there's a place called Trans Academy. And allow me to introduce you to this wonderful, magical world. Watch this. Hello and welcome to Trans Academy. This is an instance in VR chat, which ordinarily one would play in VR, but there is a desktop version, which is what I'm using here to record with. This is right at the entrance of the world. To join, you just have to install VR chat either on anything really, on Steam, on your headset, on some phones, whatever you've got. And you can wander around and engage with people. This particular thing is a specific world called Trans Academy within VR chat, and there goes a person right now. Now, this giant birthday cake in the center is because Trans Academy just celebrated their 2nd anniversary. I believe it was September 28th of 2022 when they set up shop, when the original director, Tizzy, noticed there are a shit ton of trans people in VR chat using the ability to create a custom VR avatar to express themselves and experiment with gender, see what they're comfortable with. And you can see they've got a whole bunch of the flags around the area. Obviously, here's the main academy building. Again, I am new here, so I don't know where things are. We're discovering this together. They do offer voice training classes. I was aware this was a thing. I've seen ads for it in the Discord. Also, they have a Discord. Can change the time of day. Ooh, potato, my favorite. We can teleport. There's a ship. Oh, I gotta go play on the ship. But first, HRT and coffee. I love it.
I actually see the reflection. Rouge. That tiny rouge.
No, I mean.
It's a pretty neat thing, and there's usually people hanging out because there's members all around the world, thousands of members. There's usually people hanging out in one instance. There are multiple instances of this thing, and they have regular gatherings. Moonlight Academy is one that's come to mind. That's Trans Academy. That's an instance where people come and they usually have a specific activity in mind. They'll do performances, they'll do TED Talk type things. It's really freaking cool. And if you want to find out more or join this community of thousands of trans people from around the world, you can find out more on their website, which is transacademy.org. And there's a link to join the Discord there. There's a whole bunch of information, though even more information is available on the Discord. And yeah, I'm still exploring it, but it seems really, really cool. And at the very least, it's a place where those of us who are isolated, who aren't physically close to other LGBT people, other trans people, might be able to find community. And we need that more than anything in this age, because, well, as the Caring Crow puts it,
You all right, Mom? You all right? You all right? You all right? I'm all right.
Hey, how are you? I didn't get my intro. I'm pissed. God damn it. But I think I'll be okay. Hey, I just wanted to say, Ember, thanks so much for that stream. That piece. That was great. That was really great. I just want to make one small observation. I think it's rather curious that the amount I've struggled to understand the amount of vitriol focused by the right on trans people, and I honestly believe this, and I hope I don't offend people by saying it, but I do think that part of the reason that the trans issue resonates with these folks is because of the discomfort cis people have with their own approaches to sexual and gender identity. If it wasn't for their insecurity, we'd be more secure. I don't know if there's any person on earth who's explored these issues as deeply and as personally as a trans person has. And I think that the proof of this is in the individual reactions we have in our day-to-day life, in real life, with real people. Some of my strongest allies are people who are willing to vote for people who say I need to be eliminated from public life. And they will tell me, but of course not you. Which I think is very strange. I think that when we're abstracted, when we're an abstract concept, people grab at their crotches and instinctively, because there's that little, what we represent is a challenge to the binary, to the binary nature as expressed of sexuality and gender. And I think that's why it resonates, and I think that's why it's such a powerful issue that in generating fear, because the fear is inwardly directed and it's convenient, and effective to make it outwardly directed at the people that represent the challenge to that fear. Anywho, that's not why I'm here, but that was it. I was taken with Amber's comments there, and I just wanted to make those remarks. But what I do want to talk about tonight is the coverage of the case, and from the perspective of a lawyer, guy I follow on Blue Sky, Chris Geidner, and if you can, I can't afford it, but if you can afford $6 a month to support Law Dork, he's well worth a follow in any case. Anywho, let me let's see. I gotta find my screen because I'm utterly. There we go. All right. So Chris wrote this today on, and this is the title of the piece: "Trans people center themselves in a trans case before a very not trans court. Not only was Chase Strangio arguing Wednesday, but a trans plaintiff was in the courtroom, as were many other trans lawyers, journalists, and observers. It matters." Thanks, Chris, for noticing. It does matter. It matters a lot. Yes, queer trans joy is unstoppable. Of course it is. I'll have much more on the U.S. versus Scrimetti arguments, implications of various possible decisions going forward. But today I wanted to step back and just write something about Wednesday, who was there, and why I think it mattered in that moment. Chase Strangio, a proudly and openly trans lawyer, stood up in front of the justices immediately following Solicitor General Elizabeth Prologar. Prologar is widely seen as one of the best advocates who appears in front of the court these days. Her ease with argument is only made more impressive by her apparent knowledge of almost all of the United States Code and Federal Register. And yet, when Strangio got up, he more than stood his ground and provide a manifest grounding to the arguments that might have otherwise been lacking. And this is critical. Having trans people there advocating, it's so key to adding nuance and fact to any argument. When we're, nothing about us without us, this is why. And there's Chase. Eager lawyer. Eagle, legal, beagle. You go, my man. Trans people are real, are here, and will be affected by your decisions, Strangio said without saying a word, simply by standing up. His actual words that followed at times provided even more knowledge than the encyclopedic Prologar brought to the court. When Prologar, for example, dodged Amy Coney Barrett's question about de jure discrimination faced by trans people in the past, Strangio followed up with specifics. It was a minimal but potentially important catch. Watching the case from the benches of observers opposite the justice was LW, the trans teen at the center of the case, and her parents. The trio sat in court with Casey Parks, a Washington Post reporter who has provided extensive coverage of trans lives and the challenges trans people face simply trying to live them. Here's a key part of what Parks wrote. Some children suffer incredibly with gender dysphoria, don't they? Justice Sonia Sotomayor asked Solicitor General Elizabeth B. Prologar. LW raised her hand too low for anyone but her parents to see. In her preteen years, before she told her family she was trans, she felt as if she were underwater. She looked around and everyone else seemed to be a fish. They knew how to swim, how to breathe, but she did not. Every day she felt like she was drowning. She never felt like that anymore. Hormones had made her feel confident and at peace. And even in this courtroom, where several of the justices kept calling trans girls boys. When the ACLU lawyer Chase Strangio took the podium, both LW and her mom brightened. Strangio was the first openly trans lawyer to argue before the court. As he finished, Williams leaned over, pumped her fist, and said, "Crushed it." LW nodded in agreement. To the justices' right, although they couldn't see many of them, there were also many journalists who are transgender in the courtroom, as well as journalists who are otherwise a part of the LGBTQ community. Among the reports I've seen from those journalists include several raising the voices of trans people. Hey, journalists, do that. Do that instead of telling us that we're responsible for the loss of American democracy. Maybe you do your job. And focusing on the real world impact of the cases. Valerie Van Dierman at Assigned Media, by the way, Assigned Media, Evan Urquhart and Jesse, but those people are doing great work. Great work. Trans-focused, trans-centered, and really paying attention and drilling down on this stuff. Jesse McGrath, Deputy District Attorney for Los Angeles County and a member of the Transgender Bar Association, spoke with Assigned Media as she walked through the court to join the line for Supreme Court bar members. I think there will be around 20 transgender lawyers there today, McGrath said. We've been admitting members to the bar daily. Orion Rumler from the 19th was in the courtroom. Rumler and Shafali Luthra's coverage noted as conservative justices on the court asked how European countries, and we get back to this, what just happened in France. This is a right-wing talking point. Well, look at what Europe's doing. They're just eliminating trans people. Why aren't we doing that? You know, it's like, no, they're not. Have regulated gender-affirming care and whether it should be the role of the Supreme Court to overrule state medical regulations. Solicitor General Elizabeth Proligar and Chase Strangio, co-director of the ACLU's LGBTQ and HIV project, reminded the justices that they are not asking the court to decide the merits of gender-affirming care or even to prevent Tennessee from regulating the care, but banning such care outright for only one group of people is not regulating it, Prologar said. Emery Reed, friend of the channel, widely praised, and justifiably so, focused on Justice Amy Coney Barrett and her discussion with Strangio of the historical discrimination faced by trans people. Joe Urcaba from NBC News talked with trans people who came to the court from across town and across the country to attend the arguments. Caleb Todd, 27, said that he had a personal connection to the decision, both because he is a trans man and because he and his wife chose to move from Texas to Philadelphia in April because they want to start a family soon and they fear Texas's policies regarding women, educators, and trans people. Todd, an engineer, said he also showed up outside the court in the chilly temperatures to send a message to the court itself. I think it's important to remind people who get to make these decisions that we're here and we're beautiful and we know what's best for ourselves. Todd said. There are many others as well, and though the day was long and rough, it did reassure me to see so many trans people and other queer people front and center. All you got, all you folks out there telling me that, well, if people like you want to have a voice, that's why you'll always lose. How does that make sense? Can you tell me, honestly, how does that make sense? Well, literally, we've got people who feel that they've been somehow slighted because they use transphobic slurs, because they hate, uh, because they express racist tendencies in their outlook, and when they get called out on it, they just like, well, it's your fault. You made me do this. Give me a break. Where have we heard this before? For many others as well, and through the day, though the day was long and rough, it did reassure me to see so many trans people and other queer people front and center, literally as Strangio, as the justices took on the case. Trans people were not hidden Wednesday, and that matters. It does. Anyway, Chris Geidner is on Blue Sky. Well worth a follow there. The his stuff is really great, and my hat off to Chris for featuring, for lifting up those voices. I wish more people would do the same. For the Transpositions Weekly, I'm Stephanie Helms.
Oh, I guess it pulled me out a little early. I was expecting that to go for a little bit longer. Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Okay, it looks like you can hear me. All right. Hi, this is this is Bree. Hi. So I don't have too much to cover today. Just sometimes, a lot of times, I should say, I get messages from people trying to be allies, trying to be their best or whatever, and sometimes they take things to a path that maybe I don't necessarily agree with. And continuing this episode's theme, I guess, we are looking at Zoe once again. All right, so the person that sent me this, they're definitely a trans ally, or at least they're doing their best to be. Everybody that's in my circle that feels comfortable messaging me is probably trying to be a trans ally, unless they're my relatives, but we'll get to that. So they messaged me and they said, not to be a dick, but does she have any foundation on? And we have trans Montana lawmaker were every bit as biologically female as cis women. Like, you're an elected official representing the trans community. They need to be able to pass. Otherwise, it's just free ammo for the douchebag right-wing transphobes. Agreed, too harsh. The quote is dumb. So here's the approach that I'm going to take to this. Okay, so I'm gonna break this down in parts. Not to be a dick. It's not being a dick because you messaged me privately about it and didn't go off about it publicly. So thank you. Foundation. I don't think any politician owes us foundation. Some of them wear makeup, some of them don't. Men, women, whatever. I don't think that if this was, well, we'll get to that in a second. But I don't think that that's part of the of the job of a politician is to be pretty in front of a camera. I mean, I know that comes into play, and we've known that since the Kennedy Nixon debate. That looks are going to be a factor. Someone's unattractive. I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't think that as an elected official, your job is to help with legislation and not to engage with oh, I have to be a beautiful doll to be able to get people to pay attention to me, or I have to put myself gussy myself up or whatever. Gussy, I'm showing my age. Get that word from Dolly Parton though, so I guess that's not the worst thing. A free ammo for a douchebag right-wing trans. They don't need free ammo. Going through male puberty has done a number on the body and physical appearance of countless trans women, including myself. Some of it can be amended and some of it can't. Our goal is to keep that problem from happening to future generations. That's the whole deal. That's the whole argument. So standing up and saying, you know, oh, this chin, this nose, that I'm going to have to get fixed now is the reason I want the next generation to be able to have access to the gender affirming care that they would need once and if they have a situation like mine. So they don't have to go through that and they don't have to get later surgeries and things like that. So no, they don't need, this isn't ammo for the douchebag so much as representation for us. Zoe's beautiful. She's a beautiful woman. She doesn't have to put on foundation and lashes and stuff and get all dolled for her job. If she doesn't enjoy that, I enjoy getting dolled up. That's why it's something I do. But I don't expect that from every trans woman. And the quote, "We're every bit as biologically female as a cis woman," yeah, because biologically female, so being female is multifaceted, right? There's different aspects of our biological systems that are going to factor into what you are perceived as female medically, right? So if you're pumping your endocrine system full of the things that it needs to retain a female physique and all that good stuff, then you are presenting as biologically female. Those are biological responses within your body. They're endocrine responses that are triggering your development. So anyway, I wanted to share that. And I did have to clarify with them. Let me see. We got... Yeah, there we go. Okay, and then I explained who it was. I said that's Zoe Zephyr. She's married to Aaron Reed. They're a trans be and power couple. Is Zoe a politician? Yes. Okay. Do you agree with my sentiment, or do you think that it's fucked up? Like, no trans person needs to pass, but in my opinion, it is important for their own safety. They don't need to be considered. They don't need to be considered valid as trans, but are you trying to live and function within a society? Yeah, but people are trying. I mean, the push is to break just the lines, right? It's we don't want there to be a divide. Most people don't want there to in the LGBTQ spaces don't want there to be these divides. They want it to be a gradient in different directions: sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, all these things that are going to be gradients going all different directions and intersecting with each other. That's the beauty of humanity. That's the rainbow. That's why the rainbow represents us. But the different lines on the rainbow are kind of deceptive because if you look close at a real rainbow, they just blend together. And that's the way we are too as a group of people. But no, I don't think that anybody needs to feminine enough to be a trans woman, present themselves feminine enough to be a trans woman. I don't live my life that way. I don't experience my engagement with people that way. I think any trans person who is going from one binary gender to the other should strive as hard as possible to pass. So I don't think that there's a gender binary. So I disagree with this. That they're going from one binary to another. There's a difference between gender identity and gender expression, and I think that that's where we're getting hung up here. Because you can be like a cis man and have a feminine gender expression, right? You can be a cis woman and have a masculine gender expression. Like I said, if only for their safety to not draw unwanted attention, non-binary and gender non-conforming people, it is different, I think. You want to function within the gender binary and basically be stealth so you can just live as your truest self in peace. Agreed? That was the narrative that was followed for a long time. That's like, if we go back to some of the earliest people that are transitioning, that's the narrative. And I said, of course, here, so I got to try to put it in the most understandable terms as possible. I said, I don't know, because if she was a cis lesbian top trying to explain that dynamic, no one would expect her to put on foundation. So she's a trans woman and a lesbian. And she is the butch. Okay, I see what you mean. Well, she's not really the butch. I don't know her and her partner's bedroom dynamics. I don't, but I know Aaron and Zoe both from their independent works. So I don't know. She would be more. I mean, she's a political figure. I don't know. And Aaron is a freaking journalist. It's hard to say. Those aren't like gendered roles, right? As far as their careers and however they live their life at home is, I'm sure, doesn't matter and is adorable. I don't think either of them need to put on a little makeup. I don't think any of them need to smile more or anything like that. That's just my opinion. All right, so I just wanted to bring that to your attention. There is one more thing that I wanted to bring to attention here. So I thought the holiday season now, and we all have family that we agree with or disagree with or interact with to any varying degree. And the idea that you have to interact with people who don't accept you is just not true. So I'm not going to bring it up on the screen because it's got their names on them, but I posted some pictures when I got down here, and my relative was sending me messages on comments and things like that, and so we all have that kind of situation sometimes where someone will come on and say something nasty about your parents. They say, "You the man, you look like your dad. What did you do?" It's like, go mind your own business. And then they wonder why you don't want to come home for the holidays, right? So no, I'll stay with the people who accept me for the holidays. Thank you very much. And there's nothing wrong with that. Found family is just as valid as blood family, and sometimes they're more valid because they can treat you like a person where other people fail. I don't know why people want to do that on public forums where the world is watching. They're gonna stick their foot in. I guess they're feeling more bold though. I've been getting a lot more hate on certain platforms that I didn't get. I mean, obviously you get hate on Twitter, right? If you're a trans woman. But I've been getting a lot more hate and stalkers on Facebook. It's been kind of problematic here the last couple of weeks. So it's this demographic is emboldened to make their voices heard. And we got to make sure that they still know that they're the problem, right? We got to make sure that they still know that their kind of hateful message is not welcome in our circles. It's not welcome in our presence. Even if they think because Trump won an election that means that being awful like that is acceptable. It's not. We just need to just put our foot down and say, enough's enough. All right. I will be back with you in just a moment with back with you with Stephanie Helms to wrap up the show. We don't have a sports segment tonight, so I'll see you after this short break. I think that's like 32 seconds or something like that. 30 seconds.
Okay.
Oh, I got you double because of the Discord.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah. We hang out. We hang out backstage in case you were wondering. By the way, if you ever want to hang out with us, you could join our Discord. You could.
Mm-hmm.
You could. It's a possibility. We might even talk to you. It'd be very strange, but we might.
Yeah. We interact and engage with the people, and even chuds.
Oh, yeah.
Types of people we'll interact with. So you got something to say? You might end up, depending on your approach, you might end up in the what's it called? The sin bin. Yeah, you might end up in there.
Yeah, if you're assigned the attack helicopter role, you'll wind up in the sin bin.
And you'll be able to still engage with us, but it'll be there. We have some fun engagements in there. So we also have on the Discord server, we have resources for understanding gender identity and gender expression, all the things that I just talked about. We have resources for those. We also have resources for healthcare, knowing your rights. We have resources for emergency services that are going to be trans friendly, because sometimes you can call the wrong people and they can react the wrong way. So knowing who to call when someone is having an episode or something like that, when they're
yeah, we also have a plethora of links to actual scientific papers, medical journals, standards of care, all of the really fundamental stuff that people really should be familiar with before they start engaging in conversations with trans people. Maybe they want to find out where the science is at. And again, the reason I think that the issue is so resonates so strongly with the public is because of unfamiliarity, and that kind of unfamiliarity and it leads to a sort of alienation from even considering something outside of a binary for most people. And while I understand it, I've been trying for ages now to say, you know, come on, you can look beyond. It's not that hard. And
there's
then
so many
also on
things.
top of that, there's 0.2% of the population. What are they going to do to you? You know, we're just trying to live. And y'all want to make a big deal out of our existence, which seems peculiar to me. I don't see why it's a big deal. But I turned 71. I started my 71st trip around the sun a week ago Saturday. And I'm not looking forward to it. I hate to say this, but I'm not. I'm just not. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. It's really hard to know that enough people were willing to sacrifice me on some kind of altar of the price of eggs being lower. It just seems odd to me that people would make that decision. Well, here's a group of people that are going to be adversely affected, not adversely affected, but, you know, in the words of Matt Walsh, eliminated. And it's like, yeah, all right.
People
But
writing blogs about our staff. Honestly, it's bizarre.
But I'm not looking forward to it, not in the sense that I'm ready to give up, although I'll admit I have plenty of moments where I basically say this is fucking pointless. And you know, adopting the words of John Maynard Keynes, in the long run we're all dead. Well, that's fine. But no, I think the fight for an inclusive view of what it is to be human, an inclusive view of human experience, redounds generally to the benefit of society, not to its detriment. And I just hope that in time, people will recapture that vision and do better.
Yeah. This is I don't mean to be, I don't want to, I'm trying to be a doomer, right? I'm trying to be a doomer. We have there's places where we still win, but right now I'm scared. So it's okay to be scared.
No, I'm terrified.
These, and like I was saying in my little short segment there, they're being emboldened. The people, like even in my own family, are suddenly brave enough to reach out and criticize me for transitioning. They feel like, now that this is socially unacceptable again, we can shame her about it, and it's just be aware, stand up for freaking people. You hear somebody, like, you have a trans person in your family, in your life, and you hear their friends, your coworkers, their family misgendering them when they're not around. Be the person that corrects them when that person's not in the room.
Mm-hmm.
When you hear your parents or your grandparents dead name your trans brother, sister, cousin, or misgender them, just politely correct them and move on. Don't linger on it unless they want to have the discussion and you're prepared to. It's just decency.
And we're happy to help prepare you for those discussions. Glad to do that. Glad to be involved in that conversation if you have questions. and stuff. It's like, how can I do better? This is what Bree and Ember and I are going to be doing with Godless Granny this Saturday. It'll be great. I think it's going to be fun. But when I say I'm not looking forward to the next trip around the sun, it's being honest. This is hard. It's hard work. It takes a lot out of a person. You know, when somebody posits the notion that you don't deserve to exist, you really have a hard time in it's like, all right, where is the good faith? Where does the good faith begin here? And I think that, I think that people have a difficult time just simply coming to terms with our existence. That, the mere fact of our existence is enough to drive them crazy. And I honestly believe that's because they get a little twitch in a certain place when they even think about our existence, which
we're allowed to be attractive. I'm sorry, we really are.
It ain't a me problem. Basically, it's like, I'd like to fuck you, but nobody wants to fuck me. But that.
Oh, please.
I'm an old dried up, wizened up. These boobs ain't as fresh as they used to be, if you don't mind my saying so. But
these boobs are extremely fresh.
They were perky once upon a time.
Yeah. Yep. Mine just came in. They're fabulous.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Just don't watch out for the door jams, kid.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've hit my boob on a door jam. Just once though.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. Yeah, just like I have the screen playing in here on the other screen, and it just showed the part where I was playing with my boobs, and it looks really really awkward, I'm gonna say. So that's
somebody's gonna clip this, Bree. Somebody's gonna clip this, Bree, and your omega feels are gonna go way up.
Right. Yeah. There's places where you can see that if you really want to. I'm just saying, it's out there. Mama's got to hustle.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as the upcoming schedule for December, we're planning on being here every Thursday in December with maybe hopefully a bonus.
Boxing Day.
Yes.
Boxing Day. Maybe we'll do a call-in show. We might do a call-in show. I might be able to figure this whole thing out.
Gonna say the Christmas episode that we're gonna do for whatever time slot we end up getting for Purple's thing. We are gonna do call. You're gonna be able to come into the panel and talk to us.
Oh, goddamn right.
I don't know if all of us will be able to make it. Whatever, it depends on the time slot, which ones of us will be there and for how long. But you'll be able to come in and talk to each of us. And we have the whole Transpositions resource library that we're going to be poking at if we don't get a lot of engagement. So we'll be showing you what we have. Whether or not people call it or not, we're going to have stuff to go over. We're going to show you some stuff. There's a few things in our library that I just love to replay, and then some of our shorts and stuff. Ember shorts about the passport and stuff like that are going to get a replay. So if you've missed any of our episodes where we have those little segments, we're going to go through some of those little segments and even do commentary on them, especially the ones, maybe some of the earlier stuff that we did. So come around and see that, or call in, and we will entertain you at whatever topic that you would want from the Transpositions. Yeah, we'll be open.
Let me entertain you. Let me make you smile. I can do a few tricks, some old and then some new tricks. I'm very versatile. And if you're real good, I'll make you feel good. I'll cause your spirits to climb. So let me entertain you, and we'll have a real good time. Yes, sir. We'll have a real good time.
So the Purple has clarified the Christmas marathon will run from 5 a.m. December 24th to. Do we have the ability to pull these up on screen? I thought we did.
I thought we did. How do we do that?
Chat is not supported from this.
For the platform you selected, learn more. Yeah, well, we'll have to figure that out. That's a thing, but we really ought to be able to do that at some point in time.
Yeah, I'd like to be able to pull up the comments. Anyway, I'll just reread it. Christmas marathon will run from 5 a.m. December 24th to 5 a.m. December 26th Central Time. So.
Hey, and gotta say a shout out to Rochelle Colasia, 789. Thanks for stopping by. I really love seeing you here. It's always fun.
Yeah, appreciate you. And like I said, if you didn't see it, Dr. Ben was on Tackus earlier today too. So if you missed that, go back and check that out. Ben is
Definitely
awesome as always. And I get to cat sit while Ben does his thing. So me and Ben's kitty cat have made good friends. She's a sweetie. Her name's Sushi. Anyway, do we have anything else to cover? We got about 5 more minutes left. Anything else that we've missed? Anything else to go over?
Oh, I'm sure we've missed all sorts of stuff, Bree, but you know, it's been a fun evening, and it's good to get back into the mix.
And if you're wondering why tonight seems shorter, it's because the sports segments we don't have a sports segment tonight, so to speak, which is fine. We'll be back with sports on the 12th, and hopefully we'll have some great coverage and some fun times. I know that Kirby has their fans in our live chat, and I don't want to. I'm sorry for the Kirby stands that Kirby is not here tonight.
You know, Bree, I've been thinking that we are the Transpositions Weekly, as you know, and we do try to be here weekly, and we feature news and sports. But we need a weather correspondent. Maybe Dr. Ben would like to do the weather for us.
Yeah, I don't know. Ben's really
I don't know. We
busy.
need anybody out there. We're the Transpositions Weekly is searching for a weatherman or weather girl or weather person to make it all happen for us. You know, to bring up the cyclones and let us know where things are going.
So yeah, if you're
news, sports, and weather, folks, news at 11, right? Or news at 8. Well, news at the 0 hour UTC on Fridays.
Yeah.
AKA 8 o'clock Central and 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Mountain, and 5 o'clock Pacific.
Yep.
Find us here.
Yeah. So with that, this has been the Transpositions. Make sure you come back next week. And while you're out and about this week, watch out for the Potty Patrol.
Definitely. And all right. If you see one of these in the room, the droppings are large. Have a good week.